Michael O'Hanlon now, senior fellow specializing in foreign policy at the Brookings Institute. Michael, as always, thank you. On the campaign trail, President Biden promised to make the Saudis, quote, pay the price and make them the pariah that they are. How do you think he can do that?
Hi, Shepard. Well, he's not going to make them a pariah because, to my mind, that would imply cutting off the kind of economic and military relationship we have with the Saudis. This is a relationship, after all, that's gone through 9/11, when we know that the Saudis tolerated the Wahhabi strain of Islam and a preaching approach in many of its mosques that actually motivated a lot of the hijackers and other extremists. But the two sides need each other. The world economy still needs that Saudi oil, even if we don't need it here in the U.S. per se. And the Saudis need our military protection. We don't want them to lose a war against Iran. So there's only so far you can push this. We are not going to make the Saudis a pariah nation if what you hear by that word, as I do, is North Korea or Iran itself, or some other extremist government. There's going to be symbolic pushback, like the president today calling the aging king rather than Mohammed bin Salman. Unfortunately, President Biden may not have 4 years worth of time to call the king, because the king may not last that long. So he's going to have to figure out how to still deal with Mohammed bin Salman, even if we show some symbolic limits on the relationship.
I didn't mean to interrupt. There's a bad satellite delay. But, Michael, you and I have been talking about this murder for the past 2.5 years. There is no doubt among U.S. intelligence who murdered him, who lured him in there, who chopped him into bits, and his body's never been found. No question at all. It's MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and he pays no price of any kind?
Well, I think we need to make the symbolic price as high as it can be. I wouldn't let him visit the United States. I would try to discourage American investors from going to conferences in Saudi Arabia and being feted by this guy. I would try to treat him personally like a little bit of persona non grata in sort of the world of summitry, of diplomacy, to the extent possible, and make him stew on that for a couple of years. It's not the same thing as really punishing the country or changing the basic relationship, but I think he would feel it. He's a guy who likes to be rubbing elbows in the corridors of power and high economics and finance. And I think we should at least deprive him of that.
Michael, there's been a new development tonight. The Pentagon is now reporting that President Biden authorized a strike against an Iranian-backed militia in Syria and did so in response to a series of rocket attacks against U.S. targets inside Iraq. What are we seeing here? Is this an escalation? Is this a retaliation? Is a message being sent? What is it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shepard. I think President Biden had no choice, because undoubtedly, with this shaky American commitment to our very small presence in northeastern Syria and a new person in the White House, undoubtedly people in that region were going to test President Biden to see if he's really looking for an excuse to leave or if he's prepared to defend the American position with lethal force if necessary. And I think tonight he gave the inevitable and necessary and obvious answer. So I think, this is something Israel's been doing repeatedly, striking Hezbollah targets. We've usually focused only on the ISIS targets, which means the campaign's really not been as intensive the last couple of years. But this is something Biden needed to do to clarify the United States will not be intimidated out of that modest presence in northeastern Syria, where we're still helping our Kurdish friends.
Michael O'Hanlon from the Brookings Institute. Thank you. Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.